everybody, and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel. It's Saturday lunchtime. West Ham are about to kick off away to Newcastle. Should be an interesting game. I'm looking forward to that one. I've been having a look at the table, and for the first time in a while, and I honestly mean this, I'm looking up the table rather than down. I've spent quite a while looking down the table and wondering who could catch us and wondering if we're going to end up scrambling for the fourth spot. And suddenly, in the space of a couple of weeks, a great win at Spurs and other results going our way, our games as well as opponents' games in the table, and suddenly we've got a comfortable lead now, and we're definitely finishing in the top four. Probably going to finish second, but we're definitely finishing in the top four. So I've looked up the table rather than down for the first time in quite a while. I'm desperate for us to win this Burnley game. It's the first stepping stone in something that I'm going to speak about. I'll talk about the Burnley game first, but I am going to speak after that about why I'm so desperate for us to win this game against Burnley. And as I say, it's about me looking up the table. I'm not going to suggest that we're in a title race. I'm not going to suggest we've got a chance of winning the league title. That's not what I'm going to say. But I'm going to explain it in a little bit more depth. Once I've discussed this Burnley game, I'm absolutely desperate for us to win this Burnley game tomorrow. So what will he go with tomorrow? Obviously, I think it's pretty obvious now that Henderson's going to come back in goal. The back four will surely be Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Shaw. Then the midfield pair, there's a few people suggesting that Pogba might drop into the midfield in order to fit Rashford back in on the wing. He could well do that. Wouldn't surprise me one little bit if he did that. I would suggest it'd be a mistake if he did that. I think Pogba plays his better football where he's a little bit freer, wider, in a more attacking position, and I think he plays his best football there. I think it's no coincidence that we played well at Spurs with him there. No coincidence that we played really well in the second half in Milan with Pogba in that position. And then a lot of people were over the moon with how we played in the first half the other night against Granada as well. Anybody who saw me rating the rating show, having watched it again, I don't think Pogba was quite as effective in that game as he has been in that position. But still, I'd be happy to see him keep his place wide on the left. The problem you've got with that is, of course, what happens with Marcus Rashford. So I'm gonna hazard a guess that the people who are saying that Pogba might drop into the central midfield role for this game are going to be correct. That's what I think the manager will do. That's my guess. I think McTominay obviously didn't play the other night, so I think he'll come in. I think both Fred and Matic will step down. This is not what I'd do. This is what I think the manager's going to do. I think he'll have McTominay and Pogba in midfield with Bruno at 10, and then Rashford on the left, Cavani in the centre, and probably Greenwood on the right. Anybody who watches regular will know that I would go with Dan James. So obviously not Henderson back in goal, usual back four. I think he'll go with McTominay and Pogba, Bruno at 10, and then I think he'll go Greenwood, Cavani and Rashford. What would I do? I would make a massive case out for Nemanja Matic playing in this game. Matic's passing the other night, and for me, virtually every time he plays, his passing is so much better than the other midfield players that play there. I won't include Pogba in that, but we need Pogba, I believe, to play wide on the left. But his passing is so much better than McTominay's, so much better than Fred's. And I'm talking about his forward passing. A lot of people say sideways passing and backwards passing. He put two balls the other night, one over the top to Bruno, that Bruno shot, volleyed over the bar. Decent. It wasn't easy. One of the things, when I'm criticising players for using that type of ball, people say, obviously Bruno tries that ball over the top quite a lot. When Pogba's in midfield, he tries it quite a lot. And I criticise them for doing it. And people often say I've got an agenda. I haven't got any agenda whatsoever. A ball over the top like that is so difficult to deal with. So what I'm going to say here is Matic played the other night an absolutely wonderful ball. It couldn't have been better. It was right into his path, directly there to be volleyed. And here's the point. It's a difficult ball to deal with. There's no need to criticise Bruno for not scoring from that. It's not, even though it was a fantastic ball, it's not an easy chance. Do you see where I'm coming from? I'd rather us to play shorter passing, try and get round the back and get balls laid across the box for people coming onto the ball. I'm going to speak about last night's football shortly. A goal that Sigurdsson scored for Everton last night, square across the box, running in. Both of Harry Kane's goals, balls into the box, they drop down to him, he smashes them in. You've got more chance of getting goals from getting balls across the face of the box. Balls over the top, even when it's a brilliant ball, which Matic's ball the other night was a brilliant ball. It's not an easy ball to deal with. It's not an easy chance. So the percentages, I'm sure, must be miles better if you play more simple passing and try and get players round the back and get the ball across the box. And what I will say about that ball from Matic, he played another long ball as well into the box from just inside their half. It was a perfectly good ball to Greenwood, and Greenwood headed it down to Cavani, who set Bruno up, and Bruno had a shot. So Matic's passing the other night was forward thinking, and it always is, in my opinion. People say too much sideways and backwards, but he generally fires balls into the feet of the strikers with great weight on them and great accuracy on them. He also plays good diagonal balls that get the full-backs into good positions. Now, we're playing Burnley. Surely this is a game where we don't necessarily need the two players who are workaholics, if you like. I know people talk about McTominay, Fred and Matic all being defensive midfield players, but of the three, surely Matic's passing is the best. Does anybody disagree with me that Matic's passing isn't better generally than McTominay's? It's miles better than Fred's, miles better. So this is a game against Burnley at Old Trafford that we need to win. We're desperate to win this game, and I'm going to come back to that in a bit about the league table. But we need to win this game. Some people might think we need to win it just to absolutely nail on a top 4 spot, but that's done in my opinion. So it's about the passing. It's not about terriers in midfield, this game. It's about us controlling the game, controlling the pace of the game and getting our passing right and making openings. Doesn't have to be him who makes the openings. It can be him that gives a good ball into Bruno's feet and he makes an opening. It can be him that gives a good ball out to one of the full-backs who's running on, or his passing is just better and it helps the team to develop better football. So I often use this analogy. If I was the assistant manager, I would be banging on Ollie's door. I'd be saying, Ollie, you've got to use Matic in this game. We've got to get our players on the field who pass the ball better to give us a better chance of opening up a team who are definitely going to sit back and try and soak up the pressure. So what would my team be? My team would be, I'd go like the manager probably will. It seems to be that way. I'd probably go back to Henderson in goal. Obviously, the usual back four. I always say my favourite pairing in the middle would be McTominay and Matic. Matic is for his passing. As I've just said, this is Burnley at Old Trafford. McTominay can score goals. I know people will say it doesn't matter who scores the goals. It doesn't matter who scores the goals, but McTominay has got far greater chance of actually being someone who scores a goal, even though Fred scored last week. Far greater chance. So you've got somebody there who can score goals, and you've got your passer, and you've also got still got the energy and the dynamism of Scott McTominay. So that would be my pairing: Scott McTominay and Nemanja Matic. Bruno at 10, and then up top, Pogba to the left, where he's causing more damage than he normally causes. Cavani at 9, where obviously he's on fire at the moment, Cavani. And then you've just got the right-hand side then. Now here's this problem, here's the manager's problem, and a lot of people are talking about it. Switching Rashford to the right. The people who come at me and say Rashford's got X amount of goals this season, I think he's got about 20 goals, hasn't he, in all competitions. He does score those goals, generally, playing from the left wing. That's not a good enough reason. I mean, everybody knows, well, most people know, I'm not the biggest fan of Marcus Rashford, but on the right, he's not even as good on the right as he is on the left, and I'm not a fan of his on the left. It's a different position. It requires different things. Doesn't suit him cutting in and shooting with his left foot. When he's on the left, he often refuses to cross it with his left foot, let alone shoot. So I think the right wing doesn't suit Marcus Rashford. So if he's going to play Pogba on the left and switch Marcus to the right, I don't agree with it. Greenwood plays sometimes on the right, and mostly it's Greenwood, and sometimes James. And I believe he'll have it like this. I believe the manager will play Marcus, and I think If we need a goal, I think his first sub will be Greenwood, and Dan James will be like his third rated. Now, to me, Dan James is the only one of the three who's a natural winger, and we need balls in the box. We need to try and get somebody in behind. He's equally as quick. He's probably quicker, and we need to get somebody in behind and get the ball across the box. So, in my opinion, for the right wing, he's got the pecking order completely the wrong way round. I honestly believe that. I think Dan James is the pick, and I think Mason's second and Marcus third. It's not going to happen like that. It will be, if he keeps Pogba on the left, it will be Rashford on the right. I'm sure of it. But as I've said, I think he'll go with Pogba in the middle, and I think he'll go with Rashford on the left and Greenwood on the right. That's what I think he'll do. But for me, I would go McTominay and Matic, Bruno, Cavani, and I would go Dan James on the right and Pogba on the left. And I think that setup would create more chances for Cavani than it would in the other couple of setups that are possible. Right, why am I so desperate for us to win this game? As I say, I've been looking up the table rather than down the table on this occasion. I'm not suggesting for one moment that we can catch City or get involved in a title race, but I'm looking at stepping stones here. Get this Burnley game out of the way. If we win this game against Burnley, we are 8 points behind City and on the same games. So this is what I'm hoping for. This is what I'm hoping for. And I was about to say I'm not hoping for us to win the league. Of course, I'd love us to win the league. I'm not seriously thinking that we've got a chance of winning the league. That's what I mean. But there is a serious chance of this happening. This can only happen if we win all our games. I do get that, but we've only got, is it 6 or... We've got 7 games left in the league now. We've got Burnley, Leeds, we've got some tricky ones. We've got Liverpool, we've got Villa, Leicester, Fulham and Wolves. For this to happen, we need to win all our games. We've still got to play Liverpool, we've still got to play Leicester, Wolves away and Villa away, tricky fixtures. I do get that. But the form we're in, and if he starts getting the team right, and I believe we're so much stronger with Pogba on the left, just take the games one game at a time, and I believe we're capable of winning all those games. I really do. The Liverpool game is sandwiched between the 2 Roma games. If we've beaten Burnley and Leeds by that stage, I hope he doesn't take his eye off the ball and try and rest players against Liverpool. Desperate for us to win the next 2, 3, 4 games. Take that a game at a time. Win the game against Burnley first. That is the game tomorrow. It's the game that we've got to start by trying to put this little bit of pressure on. And I repeat, I'm not going to talk about us having a chance of winning the league. What I'm going to talk about is this. We only need City to drop points once. Just drop points once. Just draw one game. And they would not be... As long as we win all... This is all based on us winning all our games. It's all based on us winning all our games. We've got to start ticking them off one at a time. If that happens, we only need City to drop points once. Just one draw, and they will need something out of the last 2 games. Obviously, we want to win titles. I get that. But if they need something out of the last 2 games, because if they drop points once and we've won all our games, we'll be 6 points behind them. You know, we've got a game in hand at the minute. We can be 8 points behind them by winning that. If we win all our games, and they drop 2 points, they will be 6 points in front of us. If there's 6 points in front of us, obviously you can get 6 points from 2 matches. So with 2 games to play, they would still need something. Even a point, but they would still need something from 2 games. And all that means, and this is all I'm aiming for the time being, all that means is that they would need, they'd probably go and get that point or 3 points there. I've looked at City's fixtures. City's last 2 fixtures in the league, it's a tricky one actually. It's Brighton away and Everton at home. But the Brighton away game the week before the season ends is FA Cup final day. City could be in that cup final, so that Brighton game could be brought forward. Well, it would have to be brought forward. It wouldn't. Would it have to? It wouldn't necessarily have to be brought forward. It could be knocked back a little bit, but not much. The week later, it's the Everton game, so maybe they could play it that week between the Everton game, between the cup final and the Everton game. It'll probably get knocked back, so it might well end up being Brighton and then Everton. So they would, either way, if we've won all our games and if they've dropped points once, just once, bear in mind they've got to play Chelsea still. They've got 2 fixtures which can be tricky. City are capable of going and winning these games 4 and 5-0. I do get that. But Palace away can be a tricky game. Aston Villa away can be a tricky game. And I know we've got to play Aston Villa. I get that. But we've got to win all ours for this to happen. So we just need them to drop points once. One of the games, by the way, the Palace away game, is in between the 2 PSG games in the Champions League. It's in between the 2 PSG games. We just need them to drop points once, and then they will need something from the last 2 games. If they need something from the last 2 games, that means they would only, if they got it in the second last game, which will probably be the Brighton game. If they get beat by Chelsea in the Cup semi, it will definitely be the Brighton game. If they get through to the FA Cup final, that game will get moved, as I say. It will probably be the Brighton game. So they would probably go there and win. I would imagine they'd go there and win comfortably if they needed something from that game. Always say you don't know, though. The pressure might be on a little bit then. But that's not what I'm looking for. All I'm looking for is for them to need something out of the last 2 games. If they need something out of the last 2 games, even if they go and get it from the second last game, that would mean that City have won the title, and this is the point that I'm getting to. They would have won the title with 1 game to spare. They would have won the title with 1 game to spare. All we need to happen is for us to win our next 4 games. Our next 4 games: Burnley, Leeds, Liverpool and Villa. The Liverpool games sandwiched between the 2 Roma games, but the next 4 league games. If we can win our next 4 league games, so I'm not even looking at 6 for the time being, I'm looking at 4. If we can win our next 4 league games, City only need to drop points once, and then they will, and so long as they got a point in their second last game, they would win the title with 1 game to spare, that's all. Now then, would that constitute a title race? I think it would. When people look at the amount of points, sometimes people say, oh, they've won the league, they've walked it, they've won by 14 points, 16 points, 18 points. But another thing that they sometimes look at is the games to spare. How long was left to spare before the title race was over? Sometimes people win it with 4 games to spare, 5 games to spare. If City needs something from that second last game, they will be winning the title with 1 game to spare. Now then, we all know that we've been miles behind and we're creeping up. But if people in the future look back at the history books, obviously they could read history books that tell them exactly what happened that season. But usually people look at the league table. Bearing in mind, by the way, and I'm not hoping for City to beat PSG and get to the Champions League final. But a week after they play Everton, by the way, they've got. I was about to say they're in it then. They could be in a Champions League final, which is 6 days after the last league game against Everton. So if they've already got it wrapped up, I know this doesn't matter to us now, and I know it sort of says, you know, oh, yeah, you're clutching at straws, people might say. But I'm talking about the league table when it finishes. They might rest players against Everton if they're in the Champions League final. They've already won it. We could so easily end up losing this title race, if you want to call it a title race. We could so easily end up just 3 points behind them. I won't bother getting into the combinations of things, of the other things that could happen. Obviously, they might drop points more than once, and that would be fun. But I'm not even hoping for that. Well, I am hoping for it, but I'm not suggesting that there's a good chance of that happening. But there is a good chance that they can drop points once. You know, Palace away is a tricky fixture. Villa away can be a tricky fixture. They might win them both 4-0. Of course, they're capable of that. They've also got to play Chelsea. Chelsea are well capable of getting a draw with them. So if we can win all our games, our next 4 games, that's all for now. If we can win our next 4 games, City will need something from the last 2 games. If they drop points once, just drop points. All we need them to do is draw once. They might drop points more than once. You never know your luck. But if they drop points once, they'll need something from the last 2 games, which would mean they would only win the title, so long as they got something in the second last game, they would only win the title with 1 game to spare. And I think if somebody was to say at the start of the season, fingers crossed we can win the Europa League, it's not going to be easy against Roma, and it could be Arsenal in the final. But if somebody would have said at the start of the season that you'll still be mathematically possible, I know it won't happen, of course, I'm sure it won't, but it'll be mathematically still possible for us to win the league title with 2 games to play. We'll still mathematically be in the up. We'd need City to lose twice heavily, and we'd need to win twice heavily, probably. But that can be the case. That can be the case. We could still mathematically be in the league title race with two games to go, just by winning these 4 games and City dropping points once. And I think most people at the start of the season would have been scratching their heads and saying that that's not possible. We can't, the way Liverpool have done the last few years, we didn't know what this was going to happen to Liverpool this season. And the way City have been the last few years, I think most people would have took that and would have regarded it as a really successful season, being still in the hunt with 2 to go and winning the Europa League if we can do that as well. So, as I say, it's stepping stones, 1 game at a time. Desperate for them to win this game against Burnley and then go on from there. City's next game is away to Aston Villa because they've got the FA Cup semi-final this weekend against Chelsea. They're playing Aston Villa on Wednesday, which brings me to the Premier League football in general. There's absolutely wall-to-wall football this coming week. I've been wondering, I noticed that there's Premier League football live on the TV every single day of the midweek. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there is live Premier League football. I wondered at first, is that a record? I'd love to know if that's a record. I don't know how I could check that. But has there ever been Premier League football live Monday through Friday every single night of the week? Because that's what happens next week. So when I spotted that, I looked at either side of it. And obviously last night Spurs played Everton. As I said, Sigurdsson got 2 for Everton and Kane got 2 for Spurs. It was a 2-2 draw. I didn't see the game, but it sounds like it would have been a cracker. I've seen the goals. One of Sigurdsson's goals is a lovely goal, and two smartly taken chances by Harry Kane as well. So Spurs played Everton last night. Today it's Saturday. Today we've got Newcastle and West Ham and Wolves v Sheffield United. Only 2 games today. I'm definitely going to watch that Newcastle game. It's kicking off soon. And then tomorrow, Sunday, there's us and Burnley, United and Burnley, and there's also Arsenal and Fulham. Then on Monday night, a game from this weekend's fixtures, Leeds v Liverpool, Monday night. Tuesday night is Chelsea v Brighton. That Chelsea-Brighton game is on Tuesday because obviously Chelsea are playing in a cup semi today, so that game got moved back to that day. And then on Wednesday, there's 2 games. There's Spurs v Southampton. Southampton are in the cup semi-final, so that's why that game is this week. And that's at 6 o'clock on Wednesday. Also on Wednesday, there's a game that I'll be keeping an eye on, Villa v City, with my fingers crossed if we've managed to beat... If we don't beat Burnley, I'll forget about it straight away, by the way. But I'll be keeping my eye on that if we've beaten Burnley. That's why it's so important, it's just to keep it going that little bit longer. So that's on Wednesday at 8:15, Villa and City. So there's 2 games Wednesday. I think that Villa City game, I think I'm right in saying that was scheduled for League Cup final weekend. They're in the League Cup final next week, City. So that Villa game was supposed to be that weekend. And then on Thursday, Leicester are playing West Brom. Leicester are in the semi-final this weekend against Southampton. So that's why they've got a game to play this midweek. So that's Thursday night. And then the weekend football starts on the Friday again. So you've got Arsenal v Everton on Friday night. So that's the 5 midweeks covered. Next Saturday, there's 3 games, including West Ham v Chelsea. They're both battling for a top 4 spot. Could be a good game. Next Sunday, there's 3 games, including our game at Leeds, which is a 2 o'clock game. And then on the Monday night, the weekend football finishes with Leicester versus Crystal Palace. So, including last night's game, this weekend, next weekend, and the Monday night, there's Premier League football live on the TV, 11 days on the bounce. 11 days on the bounce, Premier League football live on the TV. If that's not wall-to-wall football, if that's not football fantasy land, I don't know what is. I won't be watching every single one of them, but I will be watching quite a lot of football these next 10 now, because one's gone by already, last night's game. That's immediately followed, of course, by Champions League football on the Tuesday and the Wednesday, and then the Europa League football. Obviously, City and Chelsea are in the Champions League, and us and Arsenal are in the Europa League. So when they're tagged on to the end, 14 days in a row, it will be possible to watch a Premier League match or a Premier League team in action. So plenty coming up. I'm really looking forward to it. Every single day I'll be looking forward to the games, or at least most of the days. I'll be looking forward to the games. I hope you've enjoyed that show. I hope United get a win tomorrow. Like I say, I'm not looking up the table and thinking, well, we've got a chance of catching City. I am looking up the table and thinking that we can make it as late as possible that City actually clinch this league title. And for us to make that difficult for them to clinch it, we've got to win all our games. And it starts with Burnley at Old Trafford tomorrow, who we've not beaten on the last 3 occasions at Old Trafford. They beat us last season and they drew with us the two occasions before that. It must be just our turn. But I hope he goes with the team that I'd like him to go with, and I think they can beat him comfortably if he's got Matic in midfield, Pogba to the left, and preferably Dan James on the right. That's what I'd go with. So, hope you've enjoyed that show. If you enjoyed that show, please tell all your friends. Please subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.